And here we go. So hi, everyone. I am Jordan Rhodes. I am a project coordinator with the Center for Applied Research and Engagement Systems, or CARES. CARES is a part of the University of Missouri Extension, and we build data tools. And so we have worked with National CAP and with several state CAP agencies to build data hubs, and we are very excited that we have now launched the Illinois Data Hub. So what we're going to do today is we are going to do a deep dive into one of the tools in that hub, and that is the community needs assessment. And so in order to do that, I am going to go ahead and turn my video off just so that my audio quality stays good. And then I'm going to share my screen and we will get going. So a few things to note as I am getting started here. If you have any questions at all throughout the presentation, feel free to jump in and stop me to enter questions into the chat or anything else, though note that I will also try to leave some time for Q&A at the end. So in the last webinar, we reviewed all of the tools in that data hub. So you know that it is under the CARES tab on the Illinois Community Action Agency website, and we have our resource guide behind the button Community Action Resources, the needs assessment, the map room, which if anybody was wondering about the map room, because last time it was having a few hiccups, it is up and rolling and ready to be explored now. And then we have the poverty report. So let's go ahead and navigate to this report by clicking Needs Assessment. And it logged me out. This is a good time to note, though, that these tools are behind a login. And so if you do have a login, feel free to log into your account and follow along as we go through this presentation today. If you don't, you can reach out to your state office for your login, or to every agency should already have a login. And so we are now going to navigate to this needs assessment. And now I am in. So this tool is really easy to use. It's just a simple 3-step process. So first you select your location, second you select your data, and then finally you generate your report. Before we build this needs assessment together, though, I want us to pause for just a second to talk about how this tool can be used. So this tool's primary function is to significantly lighten the burden during your community needs assessment cycle. So for any Roma professionals, any other folks who contribute to agencies' needs assessments, this is custom built to make your data collection, aggregation, and presentation process much faster and easier. And so I'll back up for a second, though, and talk for just a moment about the goals driving data collection for needs assessments and in turn for this tool. So we know, right, that community action agencies create community needs assessments because, one, as a CSBG funded entity, you're required to. But in addition to that, right, you create needs assessments in order to better assess your community's makeup, to identify underlying causes and conditions of poverty, and to identify resources for addressing unmet needs in your communities. So as we go through and build our needs assessment report together, we'll talk about how the data and visualizations are tailored to help you gather these information. I should also note that even if you aren't involved in needs assessment building processes, this tool can still absolutely be useful for you. And this should become evident as we progress through the demo. We'll also take some time after we complete our report to talk about some additional use cases. For now, though, let's dive in. So step one, right, we are going to select our location. You have the option to select by county or by agency region. To swap between one or the other, you simply click the county or agency region button. You have the option to select one county or multiple. And if you select an area that you do not wish to include on your report by accident, you can click this X button beside the county name or the agency region name to remove it. So last time we built a report using 2 counties, so let's actually do an agency region today. Now note that if your agency only covers one county, it is not going to be in the agency region list. And this is just because we wanted it to be easy to find for folks who do have multi-county service areas. And so our multi-county folks, you should be able to more easily navigate to your region. So don't use this list as a directory of agencies. Obviously, we have our resource map tool for that, and you guys already have a great log under the members tab too of all of your agencies. So I've selected BCMW here, and now step 1 is done. I am going to click the data indicators button down here at the bottom to move to step 2. So first, I'm going to show you how to select and add data to your report here, and then we're going to walk through and talk a bit more about these data. So first, data selection options. You're going to have data indicators under each of these categories. An indicator is just a grouping of data. And so to select all of the indicators we have available, you can click this Select All Indicators button. To select all indicators available under a certain category, you can select the checkbox beside that category name. And to pick and choose indicators for your report individually, you simply click the checkbox beside an indicator name. So, as I mentioned, these data are grouped by category, and this is just a means of helping you find and navigate to the data you need. Though, if you know you need data on a certain topic and you have no idea where the indicator might be, you can also use this search bar here at the top right. So let's say I really need some data on food and food access in my community, but I am not sure where exactly this might be. I can pop in food, and here we go. It's under a few different categories. We have some information on food insecurity rates, on SNAP benefits, and on the food environment in your area. You can also use this search bar to search by source. And so these data are collected from several reliable secondary data sources, such as the US Census Bureau, the CDC, and more. And so basically how this works is CARES accesses these data that are usually available for free, but they are sometimes very difficult to access and they're not cleaned and aggregated. And so we take all these data in, we clean them, we aggregate them all together with other relevant data sources, and here they are. So with that said, though, let's go through really quickly our different categories here and talk about how they are suited to meet our goals for this community needs assessment, okay? So our demographics section here is going to contain data that's going to help you get a better idea of your community's makeup. So right here, we're going to have data on total population, population change, urban and rural population, languages spoken, and population ages, races, and ethnicities. Most of these data are pulled from the US Census Bureau's American Community Survey or from their decennial census. Note that as we go through these, I'm not going to mention indicator source for each one because that would take quite a long time. But what I am going to do is show us how to find indicator source information. So with any of these indicators, you have the ability to learn more about it before you add it to your report. Simply click the I button beside an indicator name, and you're going to see a pop-up with a lot of information about what is included in this indicator. So we know with total population now that we're going to see population by land area and by population density. You're going to see a map here where you can navigate to a larger map if desired and explore these data spatially. You're also going to see a list of supplemental data when available. So when we can, not only do we include these total indicator numbers, we also provide breakout data by gender, by age, and by race and ethnicity. And then always at the bottom, we're going to have information on the data source and a link back to that source. So I will go ahead and close that. And I think today we are going to generate a very, very large report just so we can all see what this looks like. So next we have our income and economics, and this is where our employment, income, and poverty data is located. These data are here to help you identify levels of poverty in your community. Now, note that with poverty data, especially our percentage in relation to the FPL, we have data for total population and for children where it is available. We're going to go ahead and select these as well. We then have our education category. So we're moving into data that can help us better identify determinants of poverty, as well as community resources already in place to help populations in need. So we have some information on educational attainment and proficiency. And as we know, lower educational attainment and proficiency can be a determinant of poverty. And we also have data on access to education programs and childcare programs, especially for younger children. And these, right, are a significant community strength. I'm going to go ahead and add all of these as well. So next we're moving into our social and economic factors. These data are going to provide us with more information on people in need within our community and on factors in our community that could lead to higher amounts of folks in need. So things like our homelessness rates, our food insecurity rates, teen births, young people not in school and not working. Then we have our physical environment section, which is going to provide data on significant determinants of poverty that exist in your community's physical environment. So these include everything from food access to air quality to internet and computer access. So just so we can see what a big old report looks like, I'm going to select all of these too. Then we have our housing and family section, which is going to give you some information on household makeup, as well as on housing quality and cost. And then finally, we're going to have some medical data down here at the bottom. So we're going to have information on hospitalizations and later no prenatal care, some information on different types of mortality in your area, as well as people who report that they are in poor or fair health or have poor mental health. And then we're going to have some information here at the bottom on access to different types of healthcare providers in your area. So again, all of these data were handpicked because they fulfill the goals we mentioned earlier of providing a portrait of your community's overall makeup and poverty levels, of shedding light on underlying causes and conditions of poverty in your community, and of identifying and highlighting strengths and pre-existing resources, or lack thereof, for supporting community members in need. So for any community needs assessment process, this is a great starting point for getting a lot of data and then going from there. And so that your data aggregation and collection and aggregation process is much quicker. With all that said, though, I am now going to generate my report. So to do so, I'm just going to click this reports button at the bottom right. And in this step, the tool does the work for us. And so we're now past our data collection and aggregation phase, and we are moving on into the analysis and presentation piece. So I'm going to point out a few things about navigating this assessment. As you can see, we have a menu that is loading here. It is going to list every indicator we selected in step 2. So for now, I'm going to click this X button at the bottom right to make that menu disappear. Always, we're going to have the name of the location we selected, whether that is county name or an agency name. And then we're going to have a bold heading for every data indicator that we selected in step 2. Underneath these bold headings, we are going to have a stem sentence that is going to explain this indicator as it applies to your specific location that you selected in step 1. Then you're going to have a table that is going to give you data for your aggregate report location. And if we selected an agency region, we're also going to have data for each individual county within that region. And then we are always going to provide state and national benchmark data. So for most of these indicators, we are also going to provide a map that allows you to explore these data spatially. We can click to view on a larger map, and it is going to take us to the map room where you can see these data that we were looking at in our report is mapped, and our areas are highlighted in red. We will talk a little bit more about exploring this map room in the webinar next week. So for now, don't worry about it too much, though feel free to jump in and explore. The map room will not break, and there are a lot of buttons and things to click around. So with that said, we're going to jump back in here. So you'll see with total population that we have these subcategories or breakouts. So not only do we have data on total population, we have total population by gender, by age groups, and by race alone, and then we are going to have by ethnicity alone, and then by race and ethnicity. So I want to introduce us to a few of the types of data visualizations that are going to be scattered throughout this report. So one type is our bar charts. These bar charts are really nice because they are interactive. So say I want to view data for my report location in my visualizations, but I don't care for my current needs. I don't need to have my visualizations break these data out by county. What I can do is click these county names in the legend, and my bar chart is going to adjust itself accordingly. Or maybe our needs are completely different, right? We don't need the aggregate location data, and we don't need the United States or state of Illinois data. What we want is we want to look at these data as they exist in each individual county. We're able to do that too. So another type of visualization that we're going to have is our donuts. So with the donuts, you can't make sections of it disappear, but you can highlight sections of it for presentation purposes. So if I am really, really interested, for example, in my ages 5 through 17 category, and I want to draw people's attention to this, I can click that button and it's going to alter my visualization. And when I said button, I realized that's not very clear. You just click the image, and then the part that you click is going to highlight itself. So those are going to be our main visualization pieces. We will also see some line charts later on, and I will talk us through those when we get to one. One other thing that I do want to draw our attention to, though, is our navigation now that it is up. And then I want to look at a STEM sentence together. So now we have every indicator that we selected in step 2 available in this menu. I am going, sorry for the scrolling. I am going to click on our population under 18, and then our report navigates us straight to that indicator. So something very, very important to note is that the way these data are measured and presented is dependent on the way the original data source collected and presented them. So we're going to scroll down, and a really good example that we get several questions about is going to be our percent of population under 18 by race. So we're going to look at this table and note that in our report location, it's saying white population under 18, 21%, Black or African American, 14%, Native American or Alaskan Native, 3%, and then over here with Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, 100. And then 30 and 46. And we have several questions from folks a lot of times about, why do these numbers not add up to 100? What is going on? Because people expect this to be a representation of, of all of the youth. So all of the people 18 and under. This percentage is white. This percentage is Native American or an Alaskan Native. But that is not how this data was collected. Instead, as our STEM sentence explains for us, this percentage value can be interpreted as, of all the white population in your report area, the percentage under 18 is value. So of all of the Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islanders in this report area, 100% of them are under 18. This is very important to recognize, and reading these STEM sentences for these methodology explanations is very, very important, because otherwise it can lead to a misinterpretation of these data. Because a lot of times what happens and why questions with this indicator in particular arise is because, folks will be looking at a really rural area where the majority of the population is white, and then they'll have data that say, 50% Native American or Alaskan Native, and it throws them off. And so reading to understand these data collection methods, crucial. Now, in addition to that, under every single table here, we are going to have a link back to your data's original source. And so if you ever want to learn more, there is easy access for you to be able to do that. So I want to point out one other thing about these needs assessments, and then we can talk about means for sharing and exporting them, and we can talk about additional use cases. So I want to look at, let's see, do we have children available? Okay, so I'm going to go down and look at our high school graduation dates and see if this gives us a nice line chart. Here we go. So our last type of visualization that is going to be available in this community needs assessment are line charts. And these are available when the data give us information on changes over time. So as you can see here, this one represents our high school graduation rates by year. So we have 2012 through 13 through 2018 to 19. Now, something that I probably should have noted in step 2, and I can't remember if I did. These data are going to reflect the most up-to-date data available from the data sources. A lot of times due to collection and cleaning processes, these data are going to lag about a year to 2 years behind, sometimes a bit more. That does not mean that they are not useful. So note that as soon as data is updated, our team has the most up-to-date data pushed through to the community needs assessment in about 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes sooner, depending on the amount of data from that source that we use. And also note that with this slightly older data, sometimes it is still an excellent starting point. And so you can combine this data that may be collected from a few years back with your local knowledge, right? So with that said, though, let's jump back into this line chart, and it's going to function the same way as our bar charts do, where we can remove our state and national benchmarks, for example, if we want to. We can also hover over the visualization to get more specific information on a point on the line chart. And these are particularly useful because they're great for identifying the ways in which, programming and other factors impact or have impacted, certain data or statistics over the years, right? So in Washington County, for example, we had this steep drop in high school graduation rates, but then it shot right back up. And so say we dropped again and we recognized, that we received some funding to do some programming to help to do some education programming. And this education programming, whatever it was really effective, but then the funding was cut, our rates dropped back again. We're able to use this visualization, right, to demonstrate that. So I could spend quite a bit of time going through our different types of visualizations here, but again, those bar charts, donut charts, and line charts are going to be our main visualizations. They're going to be available for every indicator, and they are going to be interactive when we are on the online interface. So in terms of sharing these, you have the option to download them as a PDF. You can also share them as a link. And so this is great for sharing via social media or for sending in an email or popping an attachment into a Google Doc, right? And then we also have the option to print your report. I will note that, for sharing, these aren't the spiciest thing to look at on social media. Our map room is great for providing visualizations that you want to share out with folks in your community, but the option is available. A few other things to note about the report. So currently we do not have the ability to kind of pull out a visualization and allow you to just download the visual. It's something that we occasionally get some questions about, and our team is working on making that happen. But as of right now, you get the full report. Though again, right, it is customizable. And so you can select only one indicator if you only want to highlight one indicator. Now, something else that I want to bring up, and then I will open us up for some questions, is that in addition to supplementing needs assessments, which is what this tool is built for, this tool is also really useful for finding data to back needs that exist in your community, right? So let's say, if you're a case manager or you lead a program where you are, on the ground and talking with community members regularly, and that folks in your area have issues finding access to childcare, or you know that folks in your area could benefit from additional financial literacy trainings. And you also know that, some of these services aren't provided by your agency and are provided by neighboring agencies, but a lot of folks don't have access to reliable transportation. So what you can do is you can use your needs assessment here, right, to access data on childcare availability, on number of youth in poverty, or on transportation access, poverty rates, and unemployment rates. And you can use these data to support and justify initiatives formed because of your on-the-ground experiences and because of your local knowledge. We always say that, yes, these data are very, very valuable, but they are best when combined with personal knowledge of an area. And so you can then use these data, right, to convince other folks on your team that, like, hey, these issues that I am seeing, they are pertinent. Here is the data to back it. You can use these to then support applications and requests for program funding. And so the use cases from, more formal situations like needs assessments to, applications and grant proposals to just everyday research, they are as endless as you want them to be. Now, with that, I realized that it is just 10 o'clock. I kind of sped through that. So I'm going to open us up for questions. Does anybody have any questions about the community needs assessment? Okay, let's see, we've got the chat here. Oh, good. Yes, we are hopeful that this will be a tool that you guys can integrate into your regular workflows and that will really, really help you. And so I will mention a few other things, though, if you have a question, and we'll go ahead and stop my screen share, that we can pop back into the needs assessment and explore things if we need to. So if there is data that you and your team regularly use and you really want it to be part of the needs assessment, reach out to your state office and they can communicate with us. And during your maintenance period for this tool, we can make some annual tweaks and changes to the data list or some additions. In addition to that, note that if you are looking for data and you can't find it in the community needs assessment, it is in the map room. So our needs assessment has about 100 indicators. The map room has around 30,000 data layers. So I'm thinking in particular of our weatherization folks. You might have noticed that, data on weather itself, on climate, on, housing quality, where we had a little bit of that in the community needs assessment, but there's a lot more specific stuff that you guys could likely utilize. Map room. We have some great heat index and natural disaster maps alongside several layers on, housing quality, repair status, and so on. And again, we will dive into the map room next week at the same time. Oh, and let's see, we have a raised hand, Kathy.
Go, Sandy.
Hi, this is
Hi.
Sandy Gators with IRBA.
Okay.
We're all together in the boardroom. Is
Gotcha.
there data on foreclosure? I did not see that.
Okay, let me.
I'm a housing counselor and it's very difficult to find local foreclosure data.
I see. Let me jump in and check really quick.
Thank you.
No problem. And I will say, while I am getting there, because this is not one that I know off the top of my head, our data team is pretty great about adding new data when there is a need for it. So if these data are something that are, absolutely essential for your work and very difficult to find, we can see if we can find them. So unfortunately, our foreclosure data, we have some data from the neighborhood stabilization program, but it is pretty old and it is in the map room. And so if you wanted to, okay, I am going to type my email into the meeting chat. And then if you would not mind, just sending me an email to say, hi, I was the person who had foreclosure data questions. I'll talk to our team and then I will send you an email with an update on kind of the status of grabbing those data. Because it seems like it's information we've accessed before. It was just several years ago.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. Any other questions?
If you guys think of anything after the call, please don't hesitate to reach out to Haley or myself, and we'll find those answers for you. We'll continue to send updates through our constant contact. So if you're not signed up for emails, we do encourage you to do that to stay up to date on the most recent updates for the Data Hub. And next week, like Jordan had said, we'll be having the map room walkthrough, which I think is going to probably be pretty exciting for everybody since there's so many more data points inside of that. We have 100, like she said, in the needs assessment. I think the standard was supposed to be 70, but our working group of folks that got together for Illinois to decide those data points wanted something a lot more robust. So there is flexibility. I say that to encourage you all to continue to submit your feedback on that as we make the Data Hub exactly what the network needs. And as far as the recording from the first webinar, I do have that. I will upload that one and this one onto our YouTube channel probably by the end of this week, and then send those links out with the additional links for the training that we have available that was shared in the email earlier. So keep an eye out on your email for those to come probably early next week, if not by the end of this week. Thank you, Liz. And thank you, Jordan. We appreciate you.
I will also add really quickly that I created a form, kind of like a survey for the network. Also, if you have any changes to your information in the Data Hub, or if you would like to request an additional login, we can send that form to you. It's really quick to fill out, and then we can get that updated as well. And it might even be a good idea to, if you have any data points, like that was just requested about the foreclosures, to put that in there too. So if there's any data points that you want added, we can get that in there too to send to Jordan.
Yes, look for the link to that form in the communication that we send out shortly. Thanks for that reminder, Haley.
No problem.
Okay, well, you guys get 20 minutes back of your day, right? Sounds great.
All right. Thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you next week for our map room webinar.
Have a great day.